Hey team, welcome back to another incredible episode of the Intentional Agribusiness Leader Podcast. This is your host, Mark Jewell, and today you guys are in for a treat. We actually went back and looked at some of the top performing podcasts that we have put out on this show, and we did a little bit of a mashup for you. We're going to focus in on culture this week. I know we probably talk about that a lot, but I don't know that we can talk about it enough, to be honest with you, because I just came off of a string. I actually just got off of 4 back-to-back discovery sales calls today, and building culture, and building culture came up on all 4 of those. So we obviously need to keep talking about it and keep banging the drum and talking about this. So I've got 3 people queued up for you. This is a short episode. I think only about maybe 15 minutes in total. You guys are going to like it. We're going to kick it off with Megan Schmidt. At the time, she was at ADM, and she has now moved over to the team at AgVend. And we recently had Tracy Linbo on the show. We've had Alexander Reichart from AgVend on the show as well. So that makes 3. Actually, no, Ryan Risdahl is the VP of sales over there now. So that makes 4 people who are on the AgVend team. They're doing something to recruit over there to get some great people on there. So Megan Schmidt talking about culture. Corey Wilness from our one of our Canadian guests that we've had on the show over the years. He comes up second place. And then Josh Wagoner, who's moved on to a trucking company now in Texas, was with a John Deere dealership down there in Indiana prior to this. And just all like 3 good, like these are 3 of the best performing episodes that we put out there, all focusing on culture. That's telling us, you guys are telling us that's what you want more of. So we're diving into that on today's episode. Thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being a part of the Intentional Agribusiness Leader community. We keep hearing from you. I keep getting the emails. I keep getting the LinkedIn messages, especially a lot of young people reaching out saying, thanks for making the show. They're learning. So if there's somebody that you think we should have on the show that you'd love to see me interview, we drop an interview every single Monday. Somebody from around the ag industry who is making a difference, who's leading people intentionally. We want to hear from them. I want to meet them. I want to interview them. I want to find out what they're doing to lead life and lead business with intention. Let's get on to the show. What does intentional culture look like for you? How do you go about creating it?
This goes a lot back to, I think, the question about retaining employees. The really big piece to culture for me is that it includes everybody. And if it doesn't include everybody, you're never going to solve a culture problem. As long as you have somebody who is not on the same page or has more of a negative mindset for how the culture needs to be, you're never going to get a shift. But it goes back to that purposeful piece of it. So a lot of people, a lot of companies will talk about, oh, our culture is this and our culture is that. But nobody's really ever explained why or what that should look like or how all of us are part of it. So I think it starts with defining it, right? Mm-hmm. What do we want that culture to look like? The second piece in my mind is exemplifying that. As a leader in any space, if you're not showing what you want that culture to be, you certainly can't expect a team below you or around you to be part of that. Thinking about the defining part, I want to add, though, that if you can include a team in that defining of it, so get their input and help them shape it, I also feel like you're more apt to get people to buy in and also be intentional in thinking about it the same way you are. The more open our communication can be, recognizing when things are going well, addressing problems really quickly when they happen, all of those things are going to support it long term. And I think just continue to evolve it and make it get better.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever run into challenges or notice challenges where there's a lack of buy-in? I think that's one of the biggest things that we need to create. You talked about involving people in helping, in getting their help and build the culture. So do you ever run into that issue of buy-in?
You're always going to have a lack of buy-in somewhere. And you have 2 choices with that sort of a situation, right? I think my first choice is always, how do we figure out why that person isn't buying in and helping them get on the same page in the book as you are. And in certain circumstances where that's just not going to happen, maybe it's just not the right fit and you've got to figure out an alternative method to go.
What's been a big win for you, Megan, as a leader, a big win in your career?
I think I'm so passionate about my team. You had asked a question when we were talking earlier, not about this podcast, but about wins. And I think people that you admire and things like that. And really, I will tell you that there's not like one specific big win for me. It's every time my team has a really cool accomplishment or something turns around that wasn't going well for them. That's what I find my biggest wins to be, is the really cool things that my team is able to accomplish. And I feed off of that energy like exponentially.
It's addicting, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was a grain originator when I first started in the industry, and I thought I can buy a lot of grain myself. I know I can do this job. And then as I moved into a role where I was leading other people, and you could see that, okay, I bought this much grain on my own, but now all of these people are buying a whole lot more grain. And it's just that magnifying and amplifying the efforts that
Mhm.
magnify that success.
Quick interruption to the podcast here. Listen, at the end of the day, most of you have been through some sort of training and development. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably interested in personal and or professional development. And here's the reality. In the corporate space, most of it's bad. Let's be honest. Most of it has been a death by PowerPoint situation that really doesn't progress you, your team. It doesn't move the needle. It's not aligned to business priorities. That is why I really am asking you to take a look at the Thriving Leader program. In the show notes below, go to the link and click through to our Thriving Leader website. The Thriving Leader was designed with the learner in mind. Adult learners today don't need another death by PowerPoint situation. They don't want to waste their time going to a training, being at an event that doesn't actually get them the results and that isn't actually relevant to where they are in life. The three biggest challenges that leaders have today are time management, stress, and work-life balance. The Thriving Leader works to solve those and so many more things. Click on in the link in the show notes, learn about the Thriving Leader, and join us at an upcoming public event and see what it's all about. We believe that today's leaders hold a moral obligation to create environments within which their people can thrive. Whether you're the one leader on your team or whether you're the leader of 10, 20, or more, it's time to see what you can do to create an environment within which you and others can truly, truly thrive. 6 months from now, a year from now, 18 months from now, the time will have gone by. The question I have for you is, during that time frame, are you surviving or are you thriving? Click the link today. So when you said, okay, this is what I don't want, when I build my own thing, it's going to have this, right? It's going to have more. So what's really important for you about building that intentional culture there?
One thing I felt like we did wrong was when we first started hiring professional people, we probably went more from the resume and their experience, and just didn't always work out from a culture perspective.
Mm.
So my co-founder and I, Derek Massey, we're the only two C-level people at the company. We decided we're going to start just hiring for people that are a fit. Like when we interview people, if we really like them, feel that they'll be a fit for our culture, even if they're not maybe the best candidate from a skills and experience standpoint. We would rather hire for culture and then watch them grow in the company. And that's been probably more successful. So I feel like that's really important. And we've spread that throughout the company too. Make sure that you get that feeling that everyone's going to enjoy working because we're an agriculture company. It's different, right? It is a little bit different. So,
You bet.
and the other part to the answer is I feel like I have high expectations. We're very productive. We expect a lot of efficiency. It's time to go. We get things done. And so over the years, rather than bringing in the high level people, we've just promoted our best people from within. And they've brought that culture with them. Like they were expected to go out, work hard, and get stuff done. And so they did it. So that's a culture that's been continued on. And now that we've just more or less promoted from within rather than hiring externally. And so, like low performance people, if they can't keep up, they tend to just either go away because they can't deal with it, or we have to let them go in the odd case. But so that's probably the two of the things that are culture that our staff like, and they all enjoy it. They love when we hit our goals and we
Yeah.
get things done on time. So, yeah, that's been really important.
I think one of the things that I see a lot of organizations struggle with when there is a lot of acquisition and merging together of smaller entities into a larger entity, and you got a lot of old cultures and old sacred cows that are involved. So how have you guys worked through the navigation of bringing cultures together and get people singing the same song?
People are like, oh yeah, we've got this great new culture now, and this is what we're going to do, and only it never works that way. And because I hear people talking about this is our culture, or you'll be with someone else and they'll say, this is what I think our culture is, and really, your culture is what you do. Right? You know that you can say whatever you want, but literally, it comes down to what do you do every day? Because if you're not living your culture, then your culture doesn't exist. You can call it whatever you want. But you look at your weakest link in every aspect, and you've got 90% of the people doing the right thing, and they're driving this culture of empowerment and building people up and lifting people up and putting our team first. Then you've got the 10% that suck. We've all got them. Don't have to talk about who they are. That's your culture. Unfortunately, it is, because they're going to drag you down to that level. So what I would challenge our organization as well as anybody else's is find those people and either invest in them to the extent of getting them to believe in what you're trying to drive, or get rid of them. I often tell people, I hate to say it, but it's the asshole word, right? If you're an asshole, you can't work here.
Right.
We'll sniff you out. We're going to find you, and then we're going to get rid of you, because we desire to have people who are team focused, who are driving with a bigger purpose, who do live that culture that we desire of empowerment, putting others first, specifically God, family, and then Hudson's always third. Actually, Hudson's probably fourth, because your friend should be in there before Hudson too. And I believe that. I preach it. It took me longer to live it than it should have. I would be like, y'all, this is our culture. This is what we're going to do. And then I'd work 80 hours a week. As I've done this longer and longer, I've realized it's just as important for me to reflect, work less, spend more time away from here. It also makes me a better leader. So some actual physical ways that we have worked on our culture, though, or when we acquired these other dealerships, where we would take some of our folks, specifically from our original 12 locations, that we felt like got it, that were living the culture, and they literally moved to Michigan. So Michigan was the last state that we had bought all the stores in. And not that they had bad culture up there, right? They had their own good way of doing things. They were great people. But as we kept buying people, everyone has their own set or idea of what their culture is. So everybody could have good intent, but now you've got the 6 acquisitions plus ours. You've got 7 cultures you're trying to get all together. What we had was working, so we tried to drive what we had, but we also used parts of what they were doing that were better than what we were doing. And over time, as we've gotten used to each other and our teams, we've found a core nucleus of what that looks like. And it's creating an environment that I would say a safe environment, that you're allowed to come in late if your kid is sick, or if you need a mental health break, go home. If you make a mistake, that's cool. We're good with it. It's putting others first. It's like I said, it's God, family, friends, work. And we're all accepting of that. And if you're not, you can't be here. You can't work here. So we're not perfect. We're not there. That's where we're going. But that is the culture that we're driving for and desiring to have.
I think when you have an established statement that says, hey, it's this, right? This or something, it's God, it's family, it's and then the business, right? And in that order, nothing else. Read that long enough, what I've seen, what I've observed is that sort of creates a kind of gravity, right? And
Yes.
people gravitate to that. At the same time, with you have in order to have gravity, you have to have polarity. And it creates a sort of polar force that it will actually deflect the people who no longer fit that or don't fit that.
Yes. Yes. Amen. And they're the ones that don't fit are usually vocal about it, because they'll just say, I don't agree. And that's fine. You don't have to agree. But there's other choices, and there's other employers that are out there. And that we would recommend that if you don't want to fit into how we're trying to do things here, please, by all means, go find somewhere where you feel more comfortable. That's fine. We're not handcuffing you. We're not tying you here. You have choices. Take advantage of those choices.
Yeah. Has that worked for you in terms of talent attraction as well? Are you finding that there are people that want to be part of that mission?
Yeah, I love it, because we have a really high retention rate. Our turnover exists more in our technician base, just because they're highly sought after, they're highly desired. It's hard to get them. It's hard to get a good trained technician. So you'll see some of those turn more than you would the normal workforce. But I'd say that we are a leader with retention. Once people come to work for our organization, they typically stay. We have our own things. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to put it out there as though we're this company that walks on water, because we're not. But we try to do a lot of the things right. For example, I'm about to hit the road again. I will go to every location within our organization and sit down with the employees, with an HR leader, and then another leader that'll go with me, and we'll seek specific feedback from everybody. What are your roadblocks? What are your issues? What are your problems? And when we say we empower them and give them a voice, we're literally saying, tell us what you want, tell us what you need, what are we missing? We can't see everything from Evansville, Indiana, where our corporate office is. And then once we leave that meeting with that list of things, we have 30 days to reply. Our team then assigns those tasks. We go through them. A lot of the things we can do that. We can change that. We can change this. Sometimes it's no, we can't do it. But it's being clear, transparent, and having that communication that's key. But then when you come around again the next year and we're having these tables, you can say, hey, we had 8 things brought up, or 10 things brought up, or 20 things brought up last year, and 90% of those were fixed. We heard you. And then people start believing, okay, if I raise my voice, or they will actually do something about it. So that's really critical and key, and part of that culture piece too. But when we say that we empower people, we give them a voice, we go to them and say, tell us, right? Not we're assuming, not we think. This came from the customer facing employees, who to me are the most important employees in our organization. And it's important that they're heard.
So what I'm hearing you say, correct me if I'm wrong, right? But we're going out from a leadership perspective. You're going out, listening to your frontline employees, the people that are out there, talking with the customers, working with the customers, experiencing the tail end of all of your decision, right?
Basically, yeah.
That's it. Culture. What did somebody say on the podcast? The culture is implemented from the top down, but it's experienced from the bottom up.
And that's exactly right. And that's why, to me, anybody that's running a company from a corner office is doing it wrong. Can't do it. I've had the office I've always wanted. Nice big corner of it. I'm very rarely there, because you can't lead a company from the corner. You have to lead a company from the ground. And that's where the action is. And that's where the feedback comes from. And if you want to create a culture, get out on the ground with the people who are driving the culture.